Today's lesson is about graphing lines. Now in the first two videos, we learned how to find our slope from 2 points, and we learned how to find our slope from an equation. So now that we have found our slope and our y-intercept in the previous videos, it's time to actually graph the line on a graph. So our first thing we have to do is tell if our slope is positive or negative, okay? So if our slope, if our line looks like this, okay, if it goes up from left to right and it goes up, this is a positive slope. Okay. If our line goes down from left to right as such, then this is a negative slope. Okay, so positive slope goes up from left to right, negative slope goes down from left to right. Okay, so that's our first rule of graphing lines. Okay, so keep that in mind. The next rule is rise over run. Now, now we know that I'm gonna write this up here. So now this is positive, and this is a negative slope. Okay, I'm gonna leave that up there for us. So the next rule is rise over run. Okay, so let's say our slope, okay, is rise over run. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the rise, the top number of our slope, tells us how far up or down we are going to go. Okay, it depends on what our slope is. Okay, if our slope is positive, we're going to go up. If our slope's negative, we're going to go down. Okay, the bottom number is our run. It tells us how far right to go. Okay, not worried about going left, worry about going right. Okay, so top number tells us is our rise, up or down. How many? The bottom number is our run, how much to the right. Okay, so I'll leave that. I'll write this smaller up here. We can reference it later. So rise over run, and that's up or down, and then to the right. Okay, so now let's have an equation. So our equation is going to be y equals x plus 2. Okay, that's our equation. Y equals x plus 2. Okay, so let's draw a graph. Okay, nothing fancy. I don't have the budget for that. So I'm gonna put some little hashes on it. Okay, it's not perfect, but you'll get the general idea. Okay, so first we look at our equation. Is y by itself? Yes. So we can go ahead and find our slope and y-intercept. And remember, our slope is attached to our x. Okay, so our slope, because it's by itself, our slope is 1, and our y-intercept is 2. Okay, so let's look. First of all, our slope is positive, which means our line should look like this. Okay, it should look like this. So if slope's positive, it should look like this. Okay, now our rise over run. So because it's just 1 by itself, it's going to be over 1, right? Any number by itself is over 1. So our slope, our rise is 1, and our run is 1, okay? But the first thing you do, look at your y-intercept. It's 2. This is where your line crosses the y-axis. Now remember, our y-axis, okay, is our up and down line, okay? So if our y-intercept is 2, we put a point on 2. So we count from our origin here, we count up 1, 2. Okay, and that's our first point. Because it's positive 2, we have to count up from the origin. Now, our slope, 1 over 1. So it's rise over run. So we start with our rise. It's positive, so we have to count up 1, and then our run is 1, and it's positive. So we count up 1 to the right 1, and we graph our point. Now, when you have 2 points, you can keep going, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1 if you want. But you only need 2 points, so once you have that, you can go ahead and draw your line. Okay, so recap. Our equation is here. Our y is by itself. So our slope is attached to our x. Because there's nothing there, it's 1. And because by itself, it's 1 over 1. Our y-intercept is 2. We put that there. So what do we graph first on the line? We graph the y-intercept. We go on the y-axis at 2. Because our slope's positive, we count rise, which is up, so up 1, and then to the right 1, and we plot our point. Now we know our slope's positive. It should look like this, and it sure does, okay? Let's try a different example. Y equals negative 2x minus 1. Okay, that's our equation, okay? So, draw our graph. We have y, we have x, like I said, not great, but you'll get the general idea. So, over here, what's our slope? Our slope is attached to our x. Our slope is negative 2. Okay. Our y-intercept is here, negative 1. Okay. Now, where do we plot first? The y-intercept. The y-intercept is at negative 1. So we go to our origin here. Okay. Our origin's right here, and we count. Because it's negative, in negative, we have to count down. So from here, we count here, we go down 1. Okay. So that's our thing. Okay. Negative 1. Okay. Is our y-intercept. Now, look at your slope. Your slope's negative 2. Negative, we have to go down, okay? So from our point, our first point we graph, our y-intercept, our slope is negative 2. So we count down 2. 1, 2. Okay, so we have to count from the point. 1, 2. Not counting the point. Don't count the point. Okay? And then because it's by itself, it means it's going to be over 1. So we go down 2 to the right 1. Okay? And then you draw our line. Now, just because our slope is negative, we do not go left. Don't go left, you have to go right. Okay, that's why up here our run is always to the right. Your slope's negative, which means it should look like this, right? It should be going down. Well, it does go down like that, okay? And that's what we want. So our line is done. Our y-intercept is at negative 1. Our slope is down 2 over 1. We draw our line. Simple enough, yes? Y equals 3 over 4x minus 2. Okay? So, our slope, attached to our x, it's 3 over 4. And our y-intercept is right here. It's at negative 2. Okay? So let's draw our line. Okay? So, first thing we graph, remember, our y-intercept. It's at negative 2. So we start our origin, it's negative 2, so we have to go down negative 2 from the origin, okay? So that's our point. First point is at negative 2. Okay? Now, we'll look at our slope. Our slope is 3 over 4, okay? Now if you think of it that way, 3 over 4, you can do it literally, okay? It's 3 and literally over 4, okay? So, rise over run, right? Our top number tells us up or down. Our bottom number tells us how much to the right. It's a positive 3, which means you have to go up. So, starting from our point, we count up 3. 1, 2, 3. And then to the right, 4. So, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is our line, okay? It's a positive slope, which means it should look like this. It does. Negative 2, up 3 over 4. So you literally go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And that's our final answer. Y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 5. Okay? So our slope, we look attached to our x, it's negative 5 over 2. So negative 5 over 2 is our slope. Okay, and our y-intercept is 5, okay? So let's draw our line, or our graph. Schwa, schwa, schwa. Ooh, I don't like that. Let's redo that. Schwap, shpop, shpop. My graphic skills, as you see, is not up to par. Bop, 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 bop. See, I need to stick to the bops, not the schwas. Okay, so, all right. So, first step, remember, y-intercept gets graphed first. Our y-intercept is at 5. Okay, so it means it's positive, so it's 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bop, 5 on our y-axis. Y-axis. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we start. 5 on the y. Now look at our slope. Our slope's negative. Excuse me. Which means we have to go down. So remember, rise over run. So our top number tells us up or down. It's negative. We go down 5. So from here, you count down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're back here at our origin. And then our run is 2. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, our run always to the right. So down 5, over to the right, 1, 2. Okay? Our slope is negative, which means it must look like this. It sure does, and that's going to be our answer. Okay? Now, look, and I'll show you real quick as an example, okay? If we did the same thing, okay, and you went, and you say, oh, it's negative, which means I have to go down to the left. Well, if you went down to the left, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over to the left 2, and you draw your line. Well, look at your line, okay? It's a negative slope, which means it should look like this. It doesn't. You drew a positive slope, so it goes like that. That's not what we want, okay? That's not what we want. Bad, okay? Don't do that, okay? Let's do one more example. 2x minus 3y equals 15. Now, we look at our equation. Is y by itself? No, we have to get it by itself, okay? Now, if you remember from the last video, we learned how to do that to get the y by itself. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, step 1 is to move the x, okay? It's a positive 2x, so we have to do minus 2x on both sides, okay? Cancel, bring down your negative 3y, and then remember, you leave it negative 2x plus 15. Sorry about the lack of space. My budget is not large for this production. Now, that's step 1, move the x. Step 2, divide by whatever number is attached to the y, which is negative 3. So everything gets divided by negative 3. That cancels. Now, y is by itself. Remember, if it's a fraction that you cannot solve, negative 2 over negative 3, don't solve it. Leave it the way it is. But we do see we have 2 negatives, which turns it in to a positive. Our x stays attached, and then we can do 15 divided by negative 3, and that's going to give us negative 5, okay? So now that y is by itself, we're going to use that as our equation for our line. So once we've found y by itself, now we can go ahead and find the slope, okay? Our slope is 2 over 3. It's attached to our x, and our y-intercept is going to be negative 5, okay? So it's very important that if it looks like this, you have to get the y by itself first before you can give me slope and y-intercept. Now let's draw our line. Graph, back to the bops, bop, 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 okay? Back to the bops, looking good. A little squiggly here, it's all right, don't worry about it. Now, first thing we do, y-intercept. Our y-intercept is at negative 5. So we go on the graph. On our y-intercept, y, x, okay? Start from our origin, it's at negative 5. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where our y-intercept is, all right? Y-intercept. Now our slope is 2 over 3. It's positive, so it's positive 2, which means you have to go up. So we have to go from our point, we go up 2, 1, 2, and then our run is 3. So we take our run to the right 3. So up 2, 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3. Draw our line. Well, let's try that again. Line here, point here. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. All right. So There's our line, albeit a little curved. It's okay, you get the point. Ha, point, 2 points. All right, so our line is done. Our slope is 2/3. It's a positive slope, which means it should look like this. In some way, it does go up from left to right. They're not as much of a slope, but still up from left to right, so it does look like this. 2/3, up 2/3. Y-intercept is at -5, okay? And that's how we graph our lines.